Bharatiya diaspora is in discussion, whether in academia but also in the media. Once in a while we get news that it is the biggest diaspora in the world. No other country can boast to have such a big diaspora like India can. We also hear that the largest amount of remittances that come to Bharat. So Bharat talks in that also. I think some $80 billion US dollars worth of remittances come to Bharat, thanks to the diaspora which is spread in different countries. That is also known. Then once in a while we keep getting news that another company, the CEO is now a person of Indian origin. Another person who has won some award in science or law or many different economics. So we say that the Indian diaspora, for sure, they are achievers, are performers, we can say, they are contributors in those countries. I was in Australia and New Zealand just recently, and I happened to meet a few member of parliaments who are of Indian origin. And they shared with me that in New Zealand, the percentage of Indians, people of Indian origin, is just 2%. But their contribution to the New Zealand economy is 8%. Similar stories there in Australia as well. And if studies are done in many other countries, I think that that will be the case in many countries, because we are involved in wealth generation and tax-paying jobs, where our people are actual taxpayers and also wealth generators. So that is how the Indian diaspora is viewed outside as well as here. Today's topic is the Indian diaspora and its cultural connect with India in the 21st century. So I will try to do justice to all the phrases that are used in that one, that about the Indian diaspora, about the cultural connect with India, and as well as in the 21st century especially. Now this diaspora that we are talking about may be a recent phenomenon, relatively recent, 100 to 100 years old. But this is not the first time in the history that we have gone beyond our borders. Many of us must have gone to Southeast Asia. In many of those countries when we go, the cultural imprint of Bharat is very, very obvious. It is visible, obvious, current, living. Because when you go to Bangkok, in front of the World Trade Center, you will find the Murti of Ganesha. Not only that, you will find Buddha everywhere, you will find Brahma and Ganesha Murti in front of every building. If you go to Indonesia, Jakarta, the biggest monument is the Krishna and Arjuna in chariot and Gitopadesh. If you go to Bali, obviously it is even more. It is at every nook and corner. If you go to Cambodia, if you go to Vietnam, if you go to many countries, all those countries, the connect is, the imprint is very, very visible. But it is so old that now it has become just part of the tradition in Bharat. In Odisha, I have heard that there is this Bali Yatra that happens, Kartik Purnima, where small boats are sent in the ocean saying that this is Bali Yatra, a reminder of our people having gone to those lands, remembering those voyages and remembering that glorious part of our history, just part of a small custom in one part of it. That is so old. But we are talking about the recent diaspora, which is say 150 to 100 years old, restarted because of the colonial rule. Yes, of course, there are people even before the colonial rule who went to Africa, who went to what is called as Middle East now, or West Asia. They were traders, they were trading there. If you go to Oman, you will find buildings with Gujarati writings because the traders have gone there long ago. Until 1970s, the Indian rupee was still used as the currency in Dubai. So that was there even before the colonial rule, but because of the colonial rule, British, Dutch, French were the ones who transported indentured laborers to different parts of the world, and that's where the numbers in the diaspora actually increased. And then of course, in the past 50-60 years post-independence, we can say it was more a voluntary kind of migration in many Western countries as well as other countries. Long ago, because we are talking about 21st century, and then that was the 19th century when it started, we can imagine that keeping the cultural connect with India was extremely difficult. Those who went as indentured laborers, they took India with them, but they could hardly visit India. They say that only 25% of those who actually went came back, means came back for good. 75% remained there because they were given lands, they started cultivating and so on and so forth. But in those times, it was extremely hard because the voyage itself took 100 days to go to the Caribbean countries. Little less to Mauritius, little less to Fiji maybe. But it was expensive, painstaking, and hence the actual physical contact was very, very limited. In spite of that, these young people, because the people who went were in their 20s or even younger, because they wanted able-bodied, strong people to work in the fields. So these were not the older people. These young people who went there, not highly educated, but they took the culture with them and they established the culture in those times. I think that is the glorious part of our history in the recent times. In spite of all odds, that they could maintain it. You see, before the cultural connect comes the emotional connect. And I can tell you stories after stories. But I will just tell one or two to you, just as an example. But the emotional connect was very, very important and is very, very important to keep the cultural connect. You see, for those, some of you may have read Sir V.S. Naipaul's book, The Area of Darkness. In the book Area of Darkness, he named India as the area of darkness. In one sense, he says, for us living in the Caribbean, we didn't know what is there. We thought what we are reading in Ramcharitamanas is what is there in India. It was kind of an area of darkness for us. That was the story at that time. But even when I had gone there, of course I went in the 21st century, the beginning of the 21st century, they maintained that emotional connect since then until now. I remember going to different homes, meeting people, and when they used to hear my accent, people used to come and gather to talk to me. So I was like almost like a celebrity, what is going on? Because one of them jokingly said that usually we have to go and pay to meet people from India. I said, what do you mean? He said, all these singers who come, when we go to their programs, we have to pay and buy tickets. But you are coming to our home. And they used to come. One Dadima, she came down. And she said, Beta, are you from India? I said, yes. Then she came forward and said, can I touch you? He said, because my Aja, in Bhojpuri they'll say Aja for grandfather, my Aja came from India. After that I have not met anybody from India. And hence I would like to touch you. So she held my hands, I was complete. That's the kind of emotional connect. Recently I heard a story about Malaysia. One of our own Karyakartas who had gone there to work. And he had Malaysian friends, colleagues. Some of them were of Indian origin, from Malaysia. And he overheard them talking about one person saying a name of a village in Tamil Nadu and saying that I don't know where it is. This person who had gone from Tamil Nadu, he said, I know where it is. In fact, it is not too far from my own native village. So that person was so excited, so happy to know. He said, then can you please take me there? He said, yes, I can tell you what is the big deal. But that didn't work out. So he, by the time he went to India, and without telling the person in Malaysia, he took some soil some mitti from the village temple of that village. And he told him that I am bringing it. Then he went to Malaysia, and to his surprise, that person had gathered the entire village. There was music, whole tasha, and he was welcomed because he has brought the mitti from the native village. And then everybody wanted to take the mitti and put it on their food. So he was feeling bad that I brought so little. Also, just a couple of examples I gave about the emotional connect, the cultural connect in those times was through the Hindi movies that they saw, the audio, bhajan series and all of them that used to reach there. And then of course, in the initial years, missionaries from the Arya Samaj went, and then missionaries from many other groups used to go there, and hence the cultural connect began. And today, it has become very easy. Just recently, the Indian ICCR had invited different Ram Leela groups from different parts of the world, and they were so happy to come and perform here their own way of doing Ram Leela. Because Ram Leela in those countries, they have maintained. Sir Derek Walcott, who is a Nobel laureate in literature, he has seen the Ram Leela being performed in Trinidad and Tobago, and in his acceptance speech when he was receiving the Nobel Prize, he has mentioned a couple of paragraphs about the Ram Leela in Trinidad and Tobago, saying that when he used to see that, he used to feel enthralled. Because he said that what they were performing was not just a remembrance of their ancestors. He said that they were performing something that transcended geography and history. That's what he felt when they were doing the Ram Leela. That they were playing something that is eternal in its content. So that is the kind of impact and that is the kind of connect that remained for these 2 centuries. Now in the 21st century, it has become much easier. Internet has played a big role, and in those countries now their situation is such that they can visit India. I was just reading recently that after COVID, during COVID there were a lot of things that were just stopped. So in Bharat, spiritual tourism is a big thing. Good percentage of all the tourists that come, they come for pilgrimage. And I was surprised to read that pre-COVID, that's 2019, and now 2022-23, the figures are for 2022, there's a 20 to 25% rise in the numbers of such pilgrims who come to Bharat for Tirtha. A good number of them are from all these pilgrimage activities. And of course the other Western pilgrims and so on. Of course, they come to Varanasi, they go to Vaishno Devi, they go to Tirupati Balaji, they go to Guruvayur in Kerala. There is a long list of top 10 destinations. So, now the cultural connect that these people will actually physically come and reconnect with their roots. Very recently, in 2018, the Indian government has started a program called Trace to Your Roots, where these people all down the road, they can fill out the form and fill out whatever information they have about whoever went from India to those countries, and they will be able to trace their roots in Bharat. But I would like to say one thing, that for those who have gone recently, large part of their connect with India is because of their relatives in India. But for those who have gone 4, 5, 6 generations ago, it is less of that. Majority of them are not interested in facing the roots. A very small percentage is interested. Their connect remains cultural and spiritual alone. That is a phenomenon that we see in all the countries. Eventually, even in the United States, even in UK, even in Canada, even in Australia, New Zealand, the same thing is going to happen. In the UK, even now we can see that those who migrated from East Africa, like Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, For him, he calls himself a British Hindu. Because being Indian itself, his parents were not born in India. They had gone to, his grandparents had gone to East Africa. His parents were born there, he was born in the UK. So we can see that there is a phenomenon that the cultural connect is what really continues. For the current generation in the Western countries who have gone in the past 30, 40, 50 years, still the connect with Bharat is with 2-3 things. One is of course the relatives in India, either parents, grandparents, other relatives. 2 is their constant visits to India. 3, the cultural activities that they have started in their own countries. Whether it is music, whether it is dance, whether it is language classes, and they are on the rise everywhere. You may have heard of Manabadi, Tamil schools and Hindi classes. A large number of them on the weekends they will be attending these. And then they will write exams which are actually conducted from here, from Bharat. In music and in dance as well. In July, August month, if you go to the United States, there are so many Arangetrams happening. There are so many Ranga Pradesh happening. The musicians go from here, the teachers are right there, and there is live music and Arangetrams take place. So through that, there is the second connect. The third connect is of course through religion and spirituality. Some of them are followers of some sannyasis, some yogis. They keep coming and going. Sometimes the gurus go, sometimes the disciples come, and the third connect. In fact, some of you may have seen the Carnegie Endowment's 2020 survey of Indian American social trends. In that one, they have done a very thorough study about various aspects of the Indian American diaspora. In that, I was quite surprised to see that out of those who are American born, Indians, people of Indian origin who are American born, which means they must be young. 21% of them have donated to some religious cause in India. 21% of them have given to some charity in India. You see, that is the third connect. That they feel for the causes that are happening in India. Some of them want to go and do something in their village. I met one Dr. Kiran Patel, who was born in Zambia. His father was from Gujarat. Then they migrated to the US. And Dr. Kiran Patel says that I owe my upbringing to 3 countries. To India, to Zambia and to the US. And because he made a lot of money, he decided that he will donate to all the 3 countries. So in his own village in Gujarat, they have built school, colleges, hospital. In Zambia, he has done the same thing. And in the US also, he has donated large amount of money to different universities. So you will find this is a big example, but even at a humble level, many people are doing it. So I feel that is the third connect to maintain their cultural roots, to actually have this kind of relationship. And even the next generation is keeping it up. It's a matter of, it's happy, it's happening. And then of course, the actual visits. When they come and spend time here. We ran a program called Yuva for Seva, where the second generation youth born in the UK, in Canada, USA, in Australia, that they would like to see India from a different perspective. So usually what happens, they will come, they will visit their whichever city or their town they live in. They will go to this relative, that relative, they will be overfed, खिला के बिल्कुल सबको परेशान हो जाते हैं, ये पानी मत पियो, वो पानी मत पियो, बच्चे खराब हो जाते हैं. लेकिन they still want to come to India and explore in different way, see with different eyes. See what's happening beyond our own little circle. So we formulated designed this program, and it has great response. And they want to come, they want to spend their entire summer, university students, So 2.5 months they'll spend, or about 3 months they'll spend. The first week will be an orientation program. Then they'll actually go in the charity projects, seva projects that are there. They will be there. And then they come back, they'll share their own experiences with each other, and they go back. I have met many of them who have gone back after this program. Some of them came back also. So we want to spend more time. Somebody came for 6 months, 1 year, one person was stayed for 2 years. Some of them want to go to their own state origin, whichever state they came from. Some of them want to express somewhere else. Somebody said, no, I want to go to the remote parts. I want to go to the villages. Somebody went to Bhuj, somebody went to northeast part of India, somebody went in Karnataka, a small village. And it has been a life-changing experience for all of them, because now they are experiencing Bharat first hand, without the comfort of their homes, but in a very different way. Mother of one such intern, she called me afterwards. Said, what did you do? I am so happy that my son went. I said, what happened? He said, before he went to India, he used to take a shower for half an hour. Now he comes out in 5 minutes. It has a life-changing impact. Because he saw there are some experts in water resources here, and how the water is so valuable, and that he knows. He was not taught in the school, but this was the experience. Second experience of one girl. She's Hindi speaking, born and raised in Boston, did her masters in Boston University. She comes here, goes to Karnataka, which she doesn't know the language, but her job is to teach English to the slum dwelling children. So that's her job. So she goes and she's going inside these little alleys. And all the children will call her Akka is Didi in Kannada. And then she became very popular because she speaks in an American accent. One day she says that I was going, and these little kids were playing and they were eating mangoes. It was mango season. So I also waved at them and I went. I was very something. Then I felt a tug on my dupatta. So I turned around, the little boy was standing with both the hands behind his back. And then he was wide smile on his face. Then he brought these 2 mangoes. He said, this is for you. And he gave me and he ran away. Then she says that there were tears in my eyes. I said, why? He gave you mangoes. Why did you have tears in your eyes? He said, in America, we get so much. We talk about sharing, but I am not sure if I would have done what the children did. These children don't have enough, but they have the values that they share. So I think this kind of connect, how even the government of India has a program, India program and so on, but more such programs, there is a great demand. Another program that we did was called Roots. Roots, as the name suggests, that these youth, they come, they will try to understand the challenges that are there in India. They will go to one of the borders of India. They will be taken to the parliament and try to understand how the democracy works in India. Of course, they will go to universities, they will go to some other institutions, and go to spiritual centers. They have to take one subject and study thoroughly, and they have to write a paper on it. That was another program, but obviously it was very intense, so the numbers were not that much. So this is another way of the cultural connect that our people. As I mentioned earlier, that whether people come to India or not, whether there is a direct relationship or not, all of them take India with them. You see, when we talk about culture, usually what comes in our mind is music, dance, food, cultural expressions, of course important, and I touched upon it that all of that is happening throughout the diaspora and the cultural connect is there. But more important than that, I think, are the values that go a step deeper than just cultural expressions. which are important, but values are even more important. When our people went to Africa, there are stories where the rishis started trading. There was no drinking water, potable water was not available. If you go to Mozambique, even now, in a small place, and on the bank of river, there is a small Ram temple. The story is behind the Ram temple, there is a water purification plant. Now it is a big plant, but it started as a प्याऊ बोलते हैं, जो पानी पिलाते हैं गर्मी में. तो उन्होंने ट्रेड्समैन ने वहाँ शुरू किया कि यहाँ लोगों को पीने के लिए अच्छा पानी नहीं मिलता. शुरुआत वहाँ से हुई. Now our own Indian community runs the water purification plant for the entire area. So these are values. After going to South Africa within a generation or two, they were already shoulder to shoulder fighting against apartheid, along with Nelson Mandela. I think those are values. In Trinidad and Tobago, just a few years ago, you see there if you go, they have lost the language, they wear Western dress, only on occasions they will wear Indian dresses. Oh, that is also a big thing in those countries, these Indian expos. You see, because culture has to be connected with the economy, only then actually it gets a lot of boost. These Indian expos went there selling Indian products, clothes, artifacts, furniture, all kinds of things. They went for a temporary, 15-day thing. Now it has become a permanent feature. There are Indian expos going on in all these countries throughout the year. But they don't speak the language and all these things are there. But there was one program taken up by the Indian ambassador, the High Commissioner in Trinidad. He said that let us find out how many people are there in the Indian community who are 90 plus age. So he brought all the community leaders, temples, mosques, everybody came. So please find out how many people are there in the communities. And they got some 110 names of those who are 90 plus. So he said that I will go personally to invite them. He formed a small committee that will have a program for them. Then he said, what should we name the program? Somebody said we should call it Honoring the Elders. Sounded good. Then he asked, should we call Honoring the Elders or should we say Taking the Blessings from Elders? All of them said, the second sounds better. Let us call it Taking Blessings from the Elders. So the program was called. So he goes to some of these people to invite them. One person who is 93, 94 years old is still going and doing some work in the garden, in the field, not sitting down. He said, how come? How come at this age you're still? He said, what do you mean? If I don't work, you jump chad jayega, I will die. Then he said, what is the secret of your long life? He said, because I am surrounded by my loving family. My children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, they are all around me, taking care of me, and hence I am living. Another Dadima, same 90 plus year old, she also was talking in the same language. She was talking about her father-in-law. So the ambassador was little intrigued. Why is she talking about his father-in-law, her father-in-law so much? Then he asked me, how come you are still working inside the house? I said, what do you mean? मेरे ससुर जी क्या कहते हैं? वो कहते हैं कि ऐसे कुलक्षणा वधु आई है. तो बोले कि जो हिंदी नहीं बोलते उसको ये कुलक्षणा वधु कहाँ से पता चला? तो मेरा कहना है कि their language is gone, their dress habits are gone, food habits have changed, but what has not changed is their language. So I think that is a connect, which is even more important connect. You may have heard of Dr. Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General of America. He has written a book called Together. It came just in the beginning of the pandemic. It was very timely because the importance of togetherness was felt by everybody at that time. And the whole book is about how this world, especially in the West, is a huge problem of loneliness. Out of loneliness are coming all kinds of mental issues, mental health issues. That has become a huge fallen in the healthcare industry in the West. He wanted to find out what are the solutions. Just medicines can't be solutions. So he found out that there are many doctors, psychiatrists and counselors who don't give medicine, that is last resort to depression and all these kind of ailments, but they want to create a social circle for them. And then in that one he gives examples of many different communities, and obviously his own experience as a person of Indian origin, this whole family structure that is there, that makes this social connect so easy. So it is not just a coincidence that Dr. Vivek Murthy comes up with this. In every aspect of life, the values that the people of Indian origin, the sanskar that they have received at home, in the other cultural and spiritual organizations that are involved in, they are so deeply embedded that it reflects, it expresses in their own conduct and life. University of Pennsylvania did a research and wrote a book. 4 professors of UPenn, they wanted to find out, how come all of a sudden Indian CEOs are everywhere and they are so successful? Is there something that they do differently? They wanted to find out, so they wanted to do a study. So they actually interviewed 50 different CEOs who are of Indian origin. And then they found out that there is something common in the way all of them do. There are 4 things, I do not remember exactly. One of them was that they all engage holistically, that they don't think compartmentalized. They do take a 360-degree view of the business. Then they always come up with creative value propositions. Then they always are much more, compassionate regarding firing. Right? Employees. Like that there are certain things that they found out. It was common amongst all of them. So these are the values, which are not very tangible. They are not as visible as the cultural expressions like music and dance and clothes and food, but they touch every aspect of human life. So I feel that connect from India, and that needs to be strengthened. One good thing that is there, in a more connected world, globalized world, in the world of communications, now this exchange of ideas has become easier, the flow of information has become easier. But obviously, I don't want to paint just a rosy picture, and that will be quite dishonest on my part. There are challenges for sure. There is dilution of the culture as the generations pass. The cultural assertion that we see in Bharat is definitely helpful, because that is creating more and more content in the age of information. I was just so happy to hear Professor Jha sharing about the Masters in Hindu Studies program, the various TV serials and more popular content based on the profound philosophy that we have. That is coming out. There is a dire need of that. That there is a serious gap there. The hunger is there, but the supply is not there. How that can be increased from Bharat as well as in the diaspora is our great challenge. And I believe if that can be done, we will be able to make an even better impact. Even for children, I was doing some research about children's literature. That how much of the children's literature that is published in Bharat actually reaches even outside, because they are looking for it. The percentage is small. Here the market is growing, and the percentage of them going abroad is still very small. How can we have more and more literature, more and more audiovisual, more and more social media content, more and more academic research, more and more institutions taking up all these projects? Outside of Bharat also, now that phase has come, where we want to start our own institutions. Long ago in the Indian Diaspora, we find schools and a couple of universities and so on. But in the new diaspora, now the phase has come where our own institutions need to be established. Our own humble effort is there in America. One is called the Om School. It is a private school based on our own heritage. It will be open for all. Anybody can come, Americans can also come. But yoga will be part of the curriculum. Sanskrit will be part of the curriculum. And heritage classes will be part of the curriculum. Apart from the regular syllabus that we have. The second one is called the Vivekananda House on university campuses, which can be hubs of Bharatiya culture, where not only students of Bharatiya origin, but anybody who is interested can converge there and can learn something and gain something. So it will be right on campus or just off campus. We already have 5 of those in the US. The idea is to start in 100 such campuses in the US. The third one which was mentioned is the Hindu University of America. We started long ago, but now again we are rejuvenating and trying to establish it as a mainstream university. Those kind of efforts will start in different parts of the world. Even in Australia, they are starting such an institute. After almost 500 years, once again from Bharat, this kind of cultural support is going to Southeast Asia. Some chairs have been opened in Thailand, in Vietnam, in Bali. In Bali there is a chair in Sanskrit studies, Ayurveda. For a gap of 500 years, nothing happened from Bharat. The cultural connect had become weaker. What they had taken there was there. Now this renewal of these ties is happening, but it needs to happen at a faster pace, bigger volume, and much in depth and profundity. So I think that is our current challenge, which I feel that we can all definitely take it up and take progress in that one also. So I think I have spoken a lot. I'll stop here.